So this is completely unplanned, but we're going to go with it. Thank you. Lillian, tell us who you are.
Good morning, everyone. Excuse me. My name is Lillie Estes. I'm a community strategist in the city of Richmond, Virginia.
So, Lillie Estes, you're a community strategist, but you've been working in the trenches in Richmond for a very long time. Tell us about your experience of trying to push leaders of that city to address the racial wealth gap and poverty specifically.
I came across the term community strategist because I've been involved in a lot of focus groups, a lot of community meetings, really trying to encourage citizens where I live to be involved in their life self-sustaining policy. I live in public housing in Richmond, Virginia. I got to Richmond, Virginia in 1977 to go to school at Virginia Commonwealth University, in which I have a degree in administration of justice and public safety with a concentration in juvenile justice, minor psychology, and extensive coursework in sociology. Thought I was going to deal with civil rights activism in the community, and life had a different challenge for me. So when I found myself in public housing and I realized that corralling people and getting them motivated in how they improve their conditions and stop being our own challenge to our progress, it just took on a different flavor for me. I was blessed to be able to know some people that were on city council, and dealing with how we improve or eliminate poverty began to become, you know, what people wanted to see happen. So in talking with my neighbors, I was sharing with them, and I believe wholeheartedly that our power is in how people develop priorities and address what the council people do and what the school board people do, because education is very important in that process. So in that vein, you know, we came up with the organization called RePHRAME, which is Residents of Public Housing in Richmond Against Mass Eviction. And we wanted to be more inclusive in how the residents would talk with the city council people to say we need more jobs in our community. We need more different types of jobs. So there's an alternate economy in public housing that people have skill sets, but they don't have the certification because there are not a lot of mentoring or coaching opportunities for people to be licensed, you know, to pay the fees that are associated with running companies, so that we fall between the cracks a lot. So a lot of what I do is repetitious conversation to build people emotionality, to build their confidence and get them to want to participate. We have a utility bill that's in our rent statements in public housing that actually causes a lot of evictions, and they had a meeting last night, so I spent a couple of different hours on the phone and texting, trying to get some of my resident neighbors to go and attend that meeting. So it's a lot of that kind of just in the trenches, trying to get people to really want to go and sit in these meetings. You know, I've sat in a lot of meetings. I participate with a race reconciliation initiative, and I sit there and people have their emotionality about whether somebody like them or don't like them, but when I get back home and I try to have this conversation with my neighbors, it doesn't register with them. So there's an attention to detail, and there is a level of activism that we have to put on that pathway.
And what has been the reception from the policymakers you all are trying to influence?
The reception verbally is always inclusive, but you know, I've since moved from someone having a great conversation with me to seeing where their action is. We were able to increase the number of residents on the Housing Authority Board of Commissioners by just really, the partners in the RePHRAME coalition is the Richmond Peace Education System, the NAACP, Virginia Organizing. So these are allies, and we were able to really identify a collective strategy that where your mission and vision and objectives are, we want you to utilize those to advocate. So it took a minute, because that started in like 2007. So in running around and trying to figure stuff out and getting 14 different organizations to really say, we want to empower public housing residents. We as non-public housing residents want to not see you in a certain way, because what we really want to do is to be involved in the planning, be involved in the design. And a lot of times you have to hear through the anger. You know, when people who've been traumatized generationally get into a meeting where you only have, 2 minutes, maybe 62 seconds or 35 seconds to say something compelling that's going to move people to action, it's very challenging to roll the Rolodex in your mind and be able to say something, and that involves coaching. So it's like I was participating in a forum a couple of weeks ago, and I just asked one of my neighbors to go, and those of you may or may not know, the first black governor in the United States is L. Douglas Wilder, and he presented a forum. And I asked one of my neighbors to come with me, and I introduced her to the governor, and when he said hello and went about his business, she looked at me and she was like, Miss Lillie, I really appreciate you. She said, I'd never met him before. I never thought I would have the opportunity to even see him in a room, let alone shake his hand and say hello. Now, for me, I've seen that man, several times over time, and not to minimize her experience, but to really try to help empower her and keep her engaged in knowing that you as one person in public housing can still have an impact.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have leaders like Lillie across the country, and these are grassroots leaders who are working directly in and with and living in communities to transform outcomes. Can we please thank Lillie for her insight this morning?
Thank you, Maya.